Hey bud, what movie are you watching there? Oh, I'm just watching The Wild Robot. Don't worry though, it's a PG-rated movie. Very nice. Maybe I'll stick around and watch a little bit of it with you. What the f***? Welcome to Children's Modern Entertainment, where some of the cutest movies start off as true crime podcasts. At some point recently in history, kids' movies have stopped being sad on accident and started being sad on purpose. And I don't mean the occasional dead parent kind of sad. I'm talking about an entire feature-length film that is about morality. It is something that has been happening recently, and everyone seems to be fine with it. The Wild Robot is the one that finally broke me. So for a quick recap, the film is about a robot who learns what it means to be a family. And the best part of the movie is about 90 seconds in, where the robot falls off of a cliff, crushes a goose and its entire family, and I don't mean this metaphorically, it literally crushes the entire family. One egg survives, and that egg turns out to be the main character along with the robot Roz. This service robot named Roz gets shipwrecked on an island, has to learn how to survive, and then becomes the mother of the goose that it didn't flatten. It's a movie that's created by DreamWorks, and it's rated PG. With an intro and a rating like that, I honestly think this should be considered a war crime. So the movie opens with an entire family of geese getting eliminated. Now that's a bold choice, but it just keeps going from there. There are so many deaths in this movie that there is literally a fan-made wiki on the death counts in The Wild Robot. And to no surprise, it's a very long list. A butterfly gets eaten by a crow, the crow then gets decapitated by a lynx, and what's even crazier is they actually show the head rolling on the ground after it's decapitated. It's a little too brutal to show here, and I'm not gonna get flagged for any kind of content. What really surprised me about this film is that they weren't being edgy about it either. They were showing death straight up. Roz's whole arc in this movie is essentially learning that everything on the island eats everything, and to survive, she has to use kindness as a strategy for survival, because if not, the alternative is becoming a part of the food chain. Even later on in the movie, there's a goose named Longneck, which I loved by the way. He was a great character. Well, guess what? He gets shot to death trying to protect the flock of geese. Even then, while they're migrating, another geese falls out of the air from freezing. Now, I have noticed that this isn't just particularly with The Wild Robot either. It's actually kind of in every kids movie nowadays. Once you start to see it, you start to see it everywhere. Here is a roster of movies that I came up with that have death as the plot or the whole premise of the film. Coco is essentially a film about a boy who gets trapped in the land of the dead and has to get out before he dies. That's the plot. A 10-year-old boy is trying to leave the afterlife world so he doesn't die. In Soul, they kill off the main character in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and then they spend the rest of the movie negotiating with what they call the Great Beyond to see whether his life actually meant anything. This is a film by Pixar, by the way, and even had a toy line associated with it. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was a great movie for someone my age, but the whole story was Puss literally running away from death. Literal death. I don't want to dig too deep into it, but that was honestly one of the best villains I have seen in recent animation. We all know about Up. I'm not going to describe the first 10 minutes of it. You know what happened. I know what happened. An entire generation essentially needed some kind of mental support because of this intro. I still talk about it to this day in therapy. These aren't just some small animated films found at a local film festival. These are major motion pictures over the last decade. All these films have death as the main plot, and it's no longer a plot twist. Now, I know you may be thinking, but they always kill the parents in cartoons. Yes, now you in the back, save the comment, sit down, because I know and I understand this. But there is a difference. Think of Bambi's mom. Even Mufasa in The Lion King. Hell, Nemo's entire family got killed off within the first couple of minutes. Animated films have essentially been orphaning their heroes since forever, but the whole point of those movies was death was the starting point, not the whole plot. It used to be that your parents are gone now, so go have an adventure. Go learn about the circle of life. Go sing Hakuna Matata with a meerkat and a warthog. The death happened so that the plot could start. In today's movies, death is the plot. We went from your parents are dead, so go ahead and start your quest, to let's learn about death with your entire family tonight while we have your kids here next to you to learn about mortality and ask questions that they should not be asking as an 8-year-old. Dad, I have a question. Yeah, of course you can ask a question. What is it? In Kill Bill Volume 1, when they cut him with the sword, why doesn't the blood splatter more in the snow for better contrast? Well, there wasn't enough blood in the body because his limb was already cut off, son. It's common sense. Now, why and how did this happen? Because for years, people would say that Pixar was sneakily putting in jokes for the parents that would go over the kids' heads. Well, the parents never left, and the filmmakers actually grew up. The head of story for Onward flat out said in an interview that the reason for maturing in movies nowadays is because the people making the movies have matured as well. So the stuff that was put in the films for adults stopped being put in the background and quietly started to become the whole plot. It's almost as if the films that are written are made for the 38-year-old adult who's holding the juice box for the kid who's 10 years old sitting next to them. And honestly, I'm not sure that's a good idea, because it seems like the filmmakers have forgot who's in the front row watching the film with their light up shoes on. A parent who bought a ticket for a PG-rated film isn't going there to teach their 4-year-old about death. They're going there to watch a robot fall off a cliff. We don't have to introduce these 4-year-old kids to death at a movie where they paid $10 for an icy. I mean, look, I'm not hating on the films. These are all great animations with amazing and very talented animators behind them. I just don't think kids movies got dark on accident. I think they got dark on purpose. It's almost like these kids films are being animated with death in mind and aimed at someone in the room who doesn't fully grasp or understand the concept. Let them find out about mortality and death the normal way, with a goldfish being flushed down the toilet or a old grandparent who is sick and tired of answering the kids' questions. So maybe for 90+ minutes we can just have a robot falling off a cliff and doing some funny things, instead of focusing mainly on death. Anyway, that's a body count of at least 5 before the robot even gets his name, and I've made peace with it. So should you. If you want to stick around and maybe count some corpses in another kids movie with me, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And remember, stay genuine.